All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the Mastering the Matrix methodology. You know that feeling when you look at a market and it just seems like this blurry, overwhelming sea of faces? Well, this breakdown is exactly what you need to fix that. We're going to dive deep into the mechanics of customer segmentation and profiling patterns. Basically, we'll take you from a totally vague idea of your audience straight to pinpointing their exact, predictable behaviors.
Here's the roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll hit the segmentation concept. Second, choosing suitable market segments. Third, we'll look at the matrices method. And finally, Section 4, obtaining customer patterns.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the segmentation concept.
Listen, market segmentation is definitely not about just lumping people together randomly. It's really the foundational step of taking absolute chaos and turning it into distinct, actionable categories. You just can't guess what a massive, complex market actually wants, right? Before you even think about making a single strategic move, you need this deeply practical grounding in how to break that huge population down. It's the absolute bedrock you need before you can even begin mastering those underlying customer patterns.
To get to those final, highly predictable patterns, there's a strict chain of steps we have to follow. No skipping ahead here. First up, you've got to truly grasp the core concept of segmentation. Once you have that foundation, it lets you effectively choose your specific segments. Okay, only then can you apply the matrices. And it's the application of those matrices that finally yields the detailed profiling and those behavioral patterns. It's like a combination lock. Every step actively unlocks the next, building that critical momentum so you understand exactly who your customer is.
Moving right along to Section 2, choosing suitable market segments.
Now, this phase, it's all about filtering out the noise. We're stepping away from looking at a massive, undefined population. Instead, you're actively using specific techniques to pinpoint and select only the segments that are genuinely suitable for your focus. Think about it like this. It's the fundamental difference between standing in a crowded room and just shouting your message into the void versus pulling a specific, highly interested group aside for a real focused conversation.
But that leads us right into a pretty pivotal question. Once we've chosen these segments, how do we actually map these customers out? I mean, we have our suitable segments identified, sure, but we absolutely need a highly systematic way to organize them so we can actually make sense of who they really are.
And that brings us to Section 3, the matrices method.
Okay, this is where the magic really happens. By taking this kind of abstract concept of a target audience and forcing it onto an X and Y axis, literally plotting customer needs right against customer behaviors, that blurry market suddenly turns into a tangible visual grid. Just imagine taking all your selected customers and mapping them right onto this matrix. Pretty much instantly, you're going to see empty spaces where absolutely no one exists. And more importantly, you'll spot these dense, crowded clusters where behaviors and needs strongly overlap. Boom, that cluster, that is your target. You're taking a basic list of suitable segments and turning it into a highly structured layout that you can deeply, deeply analyze.
Finally, we arrive at Section 4, obtaining customer patterns.
Now, mapping the customers isn't actually the final goal here. It's really the catalyst for a massive chain reaction. When you implement this matrices method to map things out, that physical mapping actively generates a super accurate customer profile. And it's exactly through that detailed profiling that those definitive customer patterns finally expose themselves. It's just a precise, structured extraction of behavioral data. Honestly, there is absolutely zero guesswork left at this stage. You finally have a direct line of sight into exactly how they operate.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. What happens to your business when customer behavior is no longer some broad, vague mystery, but a highly specific, predictable pattern? Think about that for a second. Because mastering this exact sequence, going right from the foundational concept to selecting your segments, to using those matrices to map, and finally extracting those profiling patterns, well, it means taking the mystery out of your market once and for all.